A headline about a $2 million airline deal went viral for a 21-year-old tennis star. Fans celebrated for days. And there's only one problem with it. It was never true. And once you hear who the deal actually belonged to, you're going to understand exactly why this story matters so much more than a simple correction. Here's the setup. In the same week that the tennis world was buzzing about the fake story, a Filipina named Eala was quietly doing something no player from her country had ever done before, beating a defending Wimbledon champion on center court. So stick with me here, because this video is going to walk through what actually happened, what got fabricated, and what it tells us about a young athlete who keeps handling all of it with a kind of calm most people 3 times her age couldn't manage. Before we go further, if you're the kind of fan who wants the real story instead of the recycled clickbait version, that's exactly why this channel exists. We check things before we tell you about them, and that only works because people like you keep showing up. So subscribe now, because this story has layers most channels are not going to bother untangling for you, and I promise it's worth the next few minutes. Let's start with what is actually real, because it matters for everything that follows. On January 15th, 2026, Emirates announced a genuine partnership with Aryna Sabalenka, the world number 1, naming her the airline's first ever individual tennis ambassador. It was a real, confirmed, multi-year deal unveiled with a specially designed Grand Slam-liveried A380 aircraft at Melbourne Airport, reported by outlets including Tennis.com, SportsPro, and SportCow. Sabalenka herself called it a partnership that matched her ambition and attention to detail. That is a real, verifiable endorsement, and it sits at the center of everything that happened next. Because within weeks, a completely different story started spreading. This one claiming that Emirates had signed Eala to an almost identical deal, roughly $2 million annually with unlimited first-class travel, wrapped in an invented campaign name that doesn't actually exist anywhere in Emirates' real messaging. Fact-checking outlets, including a Philippine news outlet, and rapper-affiliated researchers traced the post back to a Facebook page and found no supporting statement from Emirates whatsoever. The airline has never issued a press release, a social post, or any confirmation of an Eala sponsorship. It simply is not real. And here's the detail that should genuinely bother you. This wasn't an isolated hoax. Investigators have documented an entire pattern of fabricated Eala deals circulating for months. A supposed $45 million Wilson racket contract that never happened, a claimed $10 million charity donation that was never made, even an outlandish and completely fictional billion-dollar offer from an Abu Dhabi billionaire. Every real step forward in Eala's career seems to get shadowed almost immediately by an invented one, dressed up to look 10 times bigger. So why does this keep happening to her specifically? Because there's a real gap in the market driving it. The Philippines is a country of well over 100 million people, with one of the largest overseas diasporas on Earth, and has never had a true WTA superstar of its own to attach itself to. That hunger is real, the fan base is real, and unfortunately the hunger is exactly what these clickbait pages are exploiting for engagement. Not because Eala needs a hype, but because outrage and celebration both drive clicks whether the story underneath them is true or not. Here's where it gets more interesting, though, because Eala herself has actually addressed this directly. Speaking to reporters earlier this year amid the growing wave of fabricated stories about her, she acknowledged she has no real power over what other people choose to post online, and said the volume of fake news attached to her name is genuinely concerning, especially watching how much engagement those posts manage to pull in. That is a 21-year-old, sitting calmly in front of a microphone, essentially refusing to get pulled into a war she never started. Now here's the part of this story where the timing becomes almost impossible to ignore. On July 4th, on center court, Eala walked out to face IGA Swiatek, the defending Wimbledon champion and a 5-time Grand Slam winner. She won in straight sets, 7-6 in the first set tiebreak, 6-2 in the second. That result made her the first Filipino player in the Open era to reach the 4th round of Grand Slam, and it happened in the same stretch of days that the fake Emirates story was circulating hardest online. While one side of the internet was busy inventing sponsorship money for her, she was busy actually beating a defending Slam champion in front of a global audience. And then, just one day later, on July 5th, the other half of the story quietly wrote its own ending. Aryna Sabalenka, the actual Emirates ambassador, the world number one, walked onto center court against Naomi Osaka and lost in straight sets, 6-2, 7-6, her first straight sets defeat at a Grand Slam since 2020. It also snapped a streak of 14 consecutive Grand Slam quarterfinals for her. The player whose name was on the real Emirates jet was on a flight home early, while the player whose name kept getting falsely attached to a copy of that same deal was still very much alive in the draw. So here's the piece that should genuinely make you pause, because when the actual defending champion loses to you and then has to explain in her own press conference why you were the better player that day, no fabricated airline contract could ever add anything to that. That's not manufactured hype. That's a 5-time Grand Slam winner, conceding the point in real time. Zoom out one more level, because there's something bigger happening underneath all of this noise. Eala's real sponsor list already includes Nike, Babolat, Globe Telecom, and the Bank of the Philippine Islands genuine, confirmed partnerships built the normal way, not through viral Facebook posts. And with her ranking climbing and her results at majors getting harder to ignore, the pressure on real global brands to make an actual, serious offer is only going to keep building. The fake stories are essentially previewing a real conversation that hasn't happened yet, guessing at numbers nobody has confirmed, for a deal nobody has signed. Because the demand for her as a genuine global name is outpacing the paperwork, her Wimbledon run itself didn't end in a trophy. It ended on July 6 against Jasmine Paolini, a tight 3-set loss after Eala had chances to close it out. But what she did afterward is worth paying attention to, because there was no statement about the fake Emirates story, no reaction to Sabalenka's exit, just a quiet thank you to the crowd that had turned center court into something that felt, for a week, like home. That is the same player who calmly told reporters she has no control over what other people invent about her, choosing once again not to fight a battle that was never really hers to fight. So here's the actual question worth sitting with, the one none of the fake headlines can answer for you. With real sponsors watching results like this Wimbledon run, and with a U.S. Open stretch still ahead of her in the coming weeks, how long before one of them makes a real offer? The one that doesn't need a fabricated Facebook post to go viral, because it's actually true? I want to know what you think. Drop your prediction in the comments, name a brand, name a month, and stake your claim before it actually happens. And if this kind of story, the real one underneath the noise, is what you come here for, subscribe and stay in this circle, because we're going to keep tracking every real step of this career and every fake one that tries to get in front of it before anyone else does.